Hi guys, and welcome to this video. This is Jamie from System22 and GreatWebDesign.com. Welcome to another part in our one-page scrolling Bootstrap site build. In the last section we built this extremely bright services section. I'm going to add another little section underneath here, just another sort of call to action bar, which will be a small strip with a couple of buttons that will guide people down to some of our next sections we'll be creating. So let's get started. In our folder, let's open our index.html file with our bracket software. If you haven't been following these before, we've got the link to this free brackets text editor just down below. And I've already got it open, but we're going to want to open our CSS file. Our scrolling nav CSS file there, and those are the two files I've got loaded into my brackets here. Okay, so if we scroll down to where we left off, we want to create another section. What I'm actually going to do, I'm going to keep leaving this contact section here because it's going to be the last section I'll work on. And apart from a footer, we'll put a footer in there. I'm just going to copy that. You can either paste it on top or underneath, doesn't matter. Just make sure you leave the bottom one as is. And let's call this options section perhaps. Probably don't need an ID because I'm not going to bring anything to it, but I'll give it one anyway, so I'll call it options. And here we'll give it a class of option. Obviously you can call yours whatever you want, just remember what you call it. Alright. Okay, so we've got, I want it to say something like, what services do you require? Then I want a couple of buttons. So let's put that in first, I guess. Now again, I'm gonna create a new button, but I'll just copy the button text from up here, save me typing it back in. And I just selected it, hit Control C on the keyboard. Okay, and I'm going to leave one as the default, and I'm going to create a new button class, button white. I might want to spell that right. There we go. And this one, what services do you require? We want photography or portraits, say. Good grief. Spelling's not too good this morning. And weddings. Okay, that's fine. And we called it options. Okay, let's go ahead and do a bit of styling for this options, because at the moment that's just going to be an empty section with a bit of text and some generic buttons in there. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, Control S, so that little dot disappears up there. Let's go over to our CSS and start where we left off, which is right down the bottom here. And we'll give it a title, / ****, / I'll just call it options. Okay, see, most of our sections got a padding top of 150. With this, I want it to be a small strip, so I'm going to give it a padding top and bottom of about 50. think I'll leave that text align center. In fact, let's just copy this over. It's a good idea to type it out, but after years and years and years and years and years of typing, I am still lousy at it, so I tend to copy stuff whenever I can, save myself typing. Text align center, I'll leave that. And background color, I want it a kind of dark grey color. And I happen to know there's a dark grey that I like to use. I call it Shakespeare, to be or not to be, because it's to be, to be, to be. There we go. It's kind of a dark grey colour. And this section we gave the class of option, I believe. Just check that. Yeah, there we go, class option. Let's give it a quick save. And padding top 50, so that should be good. We're going to want to create a new button class for our white button in a minute, but let's take a look at that. We probably want to decorate the text a different color as well. Let's save it and go back to the site and see what it looks like. Do a quick refresh. There should be a little grey section down the bottom now. There we go. And there's our button. That's kind of what we wanted. We've got to style this white button that we've got here. And that text needs to be white as well. I think I'm going to do some rearranging because I really want it kind of in line. So we've got a strip here. But let's get this button styled and this text styled first. So back to our brackets. And we got a button that we call button white. And we want to style this H1. I want to make it white so it stands out on that background there. So that's pretty easy. First thing we'll do is we'll do our H1 text. So it's going to be dot option H1. And open and close some curly brackets for a change. And we'll just give it the color white, which was f. Okay, save that, Control S. Now we want to give that button a class. And what I want it to do, I want it to kind of be the opposite of the default button that we've got at the moment, which is here. So what I'm going to do is I'll do my trick again of copying it rather than typing it all out again. Change this to button white. And this to button white. Now we want to flip some colors around. So I want the color of the text to be that grey color that we use, to be or not to be. So it's to be, to be, to be. Background color I want to be white. FFF. Border, again I want it to be white. That can all stay the same. Now when we hover on it, I want the color of the font to be white. Background color again can be transparent, that's fine. And the border, I want the border to be white as well. Let's save that. Actually, let's put a bit of space between that and the media queries. And save that again. So we've changed the color of the text and we've given that white button a few parameters to work with. So let's save that. Let's go back to our site and do a refresh. There we are, there's our white button. And that's fine. Okay, that's kind of what I was wanting, but I really want this in line. So it says, what services do you require? Portraits, weddings. I mean, there's two ways I could go about this. I could float this. I could float this left. And that kind of works, but I think what I'll do, rather than use a float, I'll cut it up into sections. So we've got one section here and one section here. And to do that, I just need to give each a div of its own. Now remember when we said one of these rows in Bootstrap comprises of 12 sections. So I kind of want one section that's about this big and one section that's about this big. And so we've got to divide 12 into 2, but not equal parts. So I'd say rather 6 and 6 would be like here and here. So let's say 7 and 5, because 7 and 5 adds up to 12. So let's have a little go at that. Back to our HTML. Okay, so what I've got to do is I've got to wrap the buttons in a div of their own. So again, I'm just going to do some copying and pasting. So I'm going to copy that there. Make 2 spaces, and this is going to throw my code off briefly until I put the other div in. And then I'm going to copy that. Or of course, you can just type this if you want to. So now we've got that H1 text in a div of its own, and the buttons in their own div as well. So we'll make this one, we said 7. And this one will be 5. Just save that. And refresh. It should stay pretty much the same because I was using that float command just then, but I don't want to use that unless I have to. There we go. That's kind of what we want there. And what I'll do is we'll create another section about portraits and another one about wedding. Then when they click on these will take them down to those appropriate sections there. So let's see if this scales down okay. Let's make sure it's fully responsive here. So if I hit the F12 inspector key and go to our little responsive toggle over here. It's fine. Around about 1200 section, that works fine. Sure, this is still looking fine. And let's take it down to mobile size. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Let's make sure it works on a little phone or what have you. Okay, slight discrepancy in the buttons there. I think I know why. Well, I think we did a media query on that button right there. I want them consistent looking. I mean, that works, but it's not quite what I want. Let's go back to CSS, and I think there's a button class. Media query. In fact, here it is right here. Let's have a look. Yeah. It's pretty small right there. So all we need to do is copy this and give the same one to the button white, because this is telling it when a screen size reaches a minimum level to do something, which is make the font 20 pix and make the minimum width 200 pix. So I want to just do this, same thing for button white. Save that, back to our site. Hopefully they should both look the same now. Yeah, there we go, that did it. So there you have it. This is where I'll leave it for this particular video. In the next video we'll start doing a little photo, a portrait section or a wedding section. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, I'll put a PDF of the code we've changed in this video below in a link. Thanks for watching. Once again, this is Jamie from System 22 and Great Web Design. Have a great day.